The High Weald area of outstanding natural beauty is one of England's finest landscapes, covering 1,457 square kilometres in the heart of the southeast. Over a third of the High Weald is covered with woodland and trees, many of which are confined to small blocks between the area's irregular-shaped fields. The woods are the remnants of ancient forest, slowly cleared by early farmers, who recognised their value in providing timber for building, fuel for heating, and charcoal for the iron industry. The woods are an important part of the area's character and are wildlife rich. Where managed, often through coppicing, they continue to yield timber for construction and other uses such as fencing. Coppicing also helps maintain their rare wildlife. In addition to wood, other local building materials such as sandstone, brick and tiles have been used for construction in the High Weald. Used for centuries and derived from the underlying geology of sandstone and clay. The materials also give local buildings their distinctive character. Dave and Sally have recently completed a project to produce a home with low environmental impact. They have sought to minimise the building's impact on the unique landscape of this area of outstanding natural beauty. By using local materials, in particular wood, they have supported land-based businesses and helped conserve the distinctive character and wildlife of the area's woodlands. These are the main features incorporated into the design construction.
To be honest, this is really the heart of our house because it does everything for us, from the hot water to most of our cooking. Locally cut firewood from a woodland about 2 miles away in Cranbrook. There's some hawthorn here, little bits of ash and hazel, some birch, even some willow, and we've also lately been mixing in with a bit of salvage timber from some of the old buildings that we had to knock down around here, which was a mixture of oak and softwood. We're estimating we're probably going to get through about maybe 8 to 10 tonnes a year in total, but then this will do everything for us. It heats our hot water, we're able to cook on the wood burner. There's a couple of hot plates, a very hot oven which we do pizzas on. It gives off just enough gentle heat to give us all the radiant heat that we require to keep the house comfortable. We're completely independent with this. As long as we get wood and fill it with wood and keep it running, we don't have to worry about whether there's a power cut because the system is gravity fed and will run on its own. So we're not dependent on gas or electricity or oil, and it's a really nice feeling to know that you're completely independent, really. Gas bills of about sort of 15 or 20 pounds a quarter at the moment because we hardly have to use our gas boiler at all. A little bit to sort of supplement the hot water when we're running baths for the children. But we're using next to nothing apart from just the wood. So it's a really, really nice impact, actually. Very satisfying to know that your hard work is sort of literally paying off, you know. It does send about 5 kilowatts of heat to the hot water system, which also feeds a towel rail and our airing cupboard, which is built around the hot water storage tank. And that seems to be enough to keep the house just warm enough, really, even when the weather's quite cold. So this is the towel rail. Every gravity-fed system needs to have a heat sink, and so this sort of takes a little bit of heat all the time from the wood burner. We adjust it down here so you can have a lot or a little, or switch it off altogether if you want to. So the thermal store is what holds the heat from the wood burner. There are 4 coils inside. There's a hot water coil from the wood burner. There's the coil that comes from the gas central heating system. And then finally there's the coil that takes the water that is heated, comes in as mains cold water and is then heated as it passes through the body of water in the tank and then comes out and gives us our hot water to the showers and the taps. On the plumbing side, we found it quite difficult to get plumbers to take on board the whole thing about mixing a wood burner system with a conventional gas central heating system. They were very suspicious of wood burners altogether, and they don't like the idea that you can't switch one off whenever it's overrunning. So we got most of our most useful information, I suppose, from actually the solar companies who were right up there with the whole thing about using thermal stores with the coils that run through, and that was how we managed to blend the system, was that every part of the system has its own coil, and then it's all feeding into the same sink of water, and that's how you make it work. You can have open vented systems and closed systems, pressurized systems, running side by side without any trouble. But this was a new one on the plumbers, to be honest, and we had to sort of drag them with us, kicking and screaming, until the very end when they said, "We understand what you were trying to do now." If you're going to do a building project, the insulation must be the most important priority of your project, because it's going to save you heating bills all the way there on after. And also, if you want to do something that's going to reduce carbon emissions, that's going to be the thing to do. And also, we've used our sheep's wool insulation, which is a very low carbon, if carbon neutral material to start with. But we've used this to fill the timber frame with 150 mil. So we used two 75 mil layers of this to fill the timber frame, and then we built with 2-inch battens. We then cross-battened and then wrapped with 2-inch sheep's wool, 50 mil sheep's wool, to close off all of the joints. So you can imagine your timber frame sort of filled this way, and then we've wrapped it with an outside wrap, and then we put on the breather paper, and then the battening, and then the weatherboarding on the outside. And when we made a hole through here to put the flue through, which was in the middle of winter last year, you know, as we started to sort of pull the sheep's wool out from the inside, it was only on the outer layer that you began to feel any sort of temperature change at all. So it was fascinating how much work the outer layer was doing. But mostly this layer would be on the outside with a conventional build, and you'd have your insulation on the inside of that. We've done it the other way round because it's essential that the sheep's wool can breathe. So it's breathing through the breather paper and underneath the weatherboard on the outside of the structure. And it was lovely to use. I did the insulation myself because it's one of those sort of boring, tedious jobs that a builder will charge you a fortune to do because it's just so uninteresting for him. But on the other hand, if you do it yourself on your own house, you fill every little nook and cranny, you get it just right. And I would not have liked to have used any other insulation material because they're all really unpleasant to handle as far as I'm concerned, and this was just a delight. We've sound insulated within with normal rock wool. In the roof, we've used a mixture of sheep's wool and something called Tri-Iso Super 10, which is a sort of multi-layered quilt, and it's made up of a mixture of bubble wrap and horticultural fleece and a sponge material and silver paper, and that with the sheep's wool as well. That combination is giving us pretty well zero energy ratings in the roof. It's about 0.11 U values in the roof, and we're about 0.14 in the walls. So it's very high spec, higher spec than is required for current building regulations.
The easiest thing for anyone to do at any property is to fit low energy light bulbs. And we've got compact fluorescents in the ceiling here, which not only use very little energy, but they're also very cool to the touch, so they aren't so much of a fire hazard and they don't need extra fire protection in the back of them. We've also got room lights which have been selected so the fittings can take compact fluorescents and low energy light bulbs. If you live in the southeast, where summers are getting increasingly drier, it might be worth investing in a rainwater harvesting system. This is a compact German-made unit that collects the water and pumps it to serve the toilets and the washing machine.
So this is our chestnut weatherboarding, which is made out of finger-jointed sections, short finger-jointed sections of chestnut. Well, they're variable sections. This is one piece here. That was a nice long piece of clean timber. There's a little short one, medium size. So random lengths of clean timber where the process has taken out the knots within the timber and has just rejoined it using this, as I say, finger jointed system and glued together. And we bought 6 metre long boards for doing the weatherboarding for this. But this is sweet chestnut, which needs no treatment whatsoever. It's naturally durable. It's locally produced from Kent and Sussex, and this was machined and produced in East Sussex. So this is truly a local product. We used some edging as well, which is also finger jointed chestnut. And around the doors, we've got normal chestnut planks literally from a couple of miles away from our local timber yard. Nice wide planks, a selected material from larger trees. But the beauty of this system is that you can use really quite small diameter trees and turn them into relatively large pieces of wood that you can use for things like weatherboarding. It'll just silver down, it'll go a sort of silver colour over the years as it ages, much the same as old oak has that sort of silver colour.
As trees and woodland cover over 1/3 of the Kent High Weald, local wood products made by craftsmen are readily available for use in residential grounds and gardens. Hurdles can be made from willow or hazel, and sweet chestnut is ideal for making durable fencing. Dave has split some locally sourced chestnut to create stakes used for fencing around the meadow to keep the sheep in. On the border with the neighbouring property, Dave and Sally have constructed some hazel hurdles as an alternative to bought panel fencing, and planted a native species hedge in front of them, which will replace the hurdles in time. They even grow their own willow and hazel to produce material for hurdle making whenever it is needed around their grounds. They also like to grow their own vegetables and fruit, and have started to plant an orchard, the young trees being protected by frames Dave has made from local chestnut. Using local wood has the benefit of supporting woodland management in the High Weald, and in particular coppicing, which creates conditions that many British plants, mammals and insects require to thrive.